Its name means vampire squid from hell. It lives in eternal darkness, 2,000 feet down. It has skin like a black cloak, eyes that glow, and when it's frightened, it turns itself completely inside out to reveal rows of curved spines. It looks like something evolution designed to give you nightmares. And it might be the single gentlest animal in the entire ocean. This is the story of the most misunderstood creature in the sea, and we'll get to why it's not the monster its name promises. But first, where it lives, because that's the part that makes no sense at all. Let's start with why the name exists. When scientists first hauled one of these up from the deep around 100 years ago, what they saw was this: a small, dark creature, the color of dried blood, webbing stretched between its arms like a cloak or a pair of folded wings, deep red eyes, or depending on the light, an unsettling blue. And the inside of that cloak, lined with rows of soft, fleshy spines. To a scientist in the early 1900s, holding this strange, dark thing in a jar, the name wrote itself: Vampiroteuthis infernalis, the vampire squid from hell. It's one of the most ominous names ever given to an animal, and it has shaped how we've seen this creature ever since. The problem is, it's wrong. Almost every part of the nightmare is wrong. Start with the basics, because even those are misleading. It's called a vampire squid. It is not a squid. It's also not an octopus, though it looks a bit like one. It is, in fact, the only living member of its own entire order. A creature so unique that scientists had to give it a category all to itself. Its closest relatives are long extinct. It is, in the truest sense, a living fossil. A survivor from an ancient branch of life, drifting alone in the deep, the last of its kind, not because it's dying out, but because it's simply outlasted everyone else. And it's small. For all the menace of the name, a vampire squid is only about the size of a football. You could hold one in your hands. If, that is, you could ever reach the place where it lives, which you almost certainly never will. Because the vampire squid lives somewhere that, by rights, almost nothing should be able to live at all. Deep in the ocean, usually somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 feet down, there's a layer of water called the oxygen minimum zone. Sometimes it's called the shadow zone, a vast band of the deep sea where the oxygen has been almost entirely used up. For most animals, swimming into the oxygen minimum zone is a death sentence. There's simply not enough oxygen in the water to breathe. Fish avoid it. Squid avoid it. Most life treats it as a barrier, a dead zone to be crossed quickly, if at all. The vampire squid did something else. It looked at the one part of the ocean that nearly everything else found unlivable, and it moved in, permanently. It didn't just survive there, it made it home. How do you live in water with almost no oxygen? You change everything about how your body works. The vampire squid has blood that is extraordinarily good at capturing what little oxygen exists, far better than most animals. It has a slow, low metabolism, barely ticking over, sipping energy. It moves gently, unhurried, using almost no effort, drifting more than swimming, gliding through the dark on a pair of small fins like little ears on the top of its body. Everything about it is built for economy, for doing the absolute most with the absolute least. Where other animals are built to chase, to fight, to burn energy in bursts, the vampire squid is built to persist, to simply quietly keep going in a place where being calm is the only way to stay alive. And that calm shapes the strangest thing about it, the thing that no other cephalopod on Earth does. Every other cephalopod, every octopus, every squid, every cuttlefish is a hunter. They chase, they ambush, they seize living prey with their arms, and they eat it. It's what cephalopods do. The vampire squid is the only one that doesn't. It is the only known cephalopod in the world that does not hunt live prey at all. Instead, it eats something that, when scientists finally discovered it, genuinely surprised them. It eats what's called marine snow. Marine snow is the soft, constant drift of material falling from the ocean above. Flecks of dead plankton, tiny scraps of the bodies of animals that died nearer the surface. Specks of waste, drifting slowly down into the dark like a kind of endless, gentle snowfall. Most of the ocean's deep creatures ignore it, or compete viciously for richer meals. The vampire squid just lets it fall to it and catches it. The way it catches its falling meal is one of the most elegant things in the deep sea. The vampire squid has two long, thin filaments, far longer than its own body, that it can extend out into the water and trail behind it, like a pair of impossibly fine fishing lines. As it drifts, these threads slowly collect the falling marine snow. Specks stick to them, and when a thread has gathered enough, the vampire squid draws it back in through its arms. Tiny structures on its arms produce a kind of mucus that bundles the collected specks together into a small ball of food. And then gently, it eats. No chase, no violence, no struggle, just patience and two long threads and a slow rain of the ocean's leftovers. It is, when you watch it, an almost meditative way to live, the exact opposite of the bloodthirsty hunter its name suggests. But what about those spines? The wicked-looking rows of teeth inside the cloak that helped earn it the nightmare name? They're soft. They're not teeth at all. They're fleshy, harmless projections called cirri, and the vampire squid uses them not to attack, but to hide. When something threatens it, it flips the entire cloak of webbing between its arms up and over its own body, turning itself essentially inside out. It becomes a small, dark, spiny pineapple. The soft cirri point outward, making it look far less like a soft meal and far more like something prickly and unpleasant to swallow. It's a bluff, a piece of theater. The frightening spines are a costume, worn by a gentle animal that just wants to be left alone. And it has another trick, one made of light. The vampire squid cannot squirt ink, and that makes sense. Ink is useless in a place with no light to hide against. So instead, it does something stranger and far more beautiful. When it's truly frightened, the tips of its arms release a cloud of glowing, sticky, bioluminescent mucus. A burst of living light scattered into the darkness. Hundreds of tiny glowing orbs drifting and pulsing in the black water. To a predator, it's bewildering. A sudden silent firework of light where a soft little animal used to be. And by the time the glow fades, the vampire squid has quietly drifted away into the dark. It can keep this up for nearly 15 minutes. A creature that defends itself not with teeth, not with venom, not with speed, but with a slow, beautiful light show, and the patience to simply wait until the danger loses interest. Even its fear is gentle. And then there are the eyes. For an animal the size of a football, the vampire squid has, proportionally, the largest eyes of any animal on Earth. Globe-like and, depending on the light, deep red or a startling blue. In a world of almost total darkness, those enormous eyes are gathering every last scrap of light there is. The faint glow of other creatures, the dim bioluminescence of the deep. It is watching a world we can barely imagine. A slow, dark, drifting world, lit only in flickers, where food falls like snow and danger passes like weather. The vampire squid has been watching that world with those huge ancient eyes for a very, very long time. Longer than almost anything else alive. Because the vampire squid is old. Not the individual, the lineage. Its ancestors were drifting through the deep oceans of the world while dinosaurs still walked above. Its relatives, the other members of its ancient order, are all gone now, known only from fossils pressed into ancient stone. The vampire squid is the last branch left on a very old tree. And here is the quiet, remarkable thing about how it survived when its relatives didn't. It didn't survive by being the strongest, or the fastest, or the most fearsome. It survived by retreating, by moving into the one place too harsh for predators to follow, and learning to live on almost nothing. Gently, patiently, the vampire squid just kept drifting in the dark, outlasting them all, by being gentle. So think about how completely we got it wrong. We pulled a small, soft, gentle creature out of the deep. A drifting, patient animal that eats falling specks of dust, defends itself with light, hides by turning into a harmless little ball, and has quietly outlived nearly everything else in the ocean by refusing to fight. And we looked at its dark skin and its glowing eyes and its cloak, and we called it a vampire. From hell. We saw a monster because we expected a monster. Because the deep sea in our imagination is a place of monsters. But the deep sea isn't only that. Sometimes the strangest looking thing in the dark is also the gentlest. The vampire squid isn't a nightmare, it's a survivor. One whose entire strategy for millions of years has been the quiet refusal to be cruel. It's still down there, right now. As you watch this, thousands of feet beneath the surface of the ocean, in the dark band of water where the oxygen runs out and almost nothing else can follow, a small, dark, red creature with enormous eyes is drifting, slowly, through the black, trailing two fine threads to catch the falling snow, watching the dim flickers of a world we will almost never see, asking nothing of anyone. We gave it the most frightening name we could think of. We imagined it as a devil of the deep, but the vampire squid was never the monster of its story. It was something rarer and quieter and far more interesting. It was proof that, even in the darkest, harshest, most unforgiving place in the ocean, the thing that survives the longest can be the thing that simply refused to do any harm. Not a vampire, not from hell, just the gentle, patient, ancient drifter of the deep, still out there, still glowing, still here.